The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. That's Alan Watts. And that really captures what we try to do here on the Deep Dive. Welcome. We take stacks of information, reports, articles, data, and we boil it down to the crucial insights just for you. Today, we're diving into something really critical from India's internal security scene. This is especially relevant if you're studying for the UPSC mains or, honestly, if you're just interested in how complex problems get tackled in innovative ways. Our mission: to unpack a really insightful report from the print. It's called Dragon's Teeth, Chhattisgarh's elite anti-Maoist force. We're looking at the District Reserve Guard, the DRG. How are they changing the game against left-wing extremism, or LWE? What makes them tick? And how did they even come about?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. The DRG isn't just another security unit. It sort of represents a shift, a different way of thinking about handling insurgencies. It really highlights how adapting locally, integrating with the community can be incredibly powerful strategically.
Absolutely. And there's this scene described in the report that just paints such a vivid picture. Imagine Narayanpur district in Chhattisgarh. This isn't some big city, right? It's a Naxal-affected area. Telecom service is patchy at best. But you've got this well-lit room, and security guys are glued to their phones. Not for scrolling, but for checking coordinates, really precise stuff on an app called AlpineQuest.
Right, and that choice of app is telling. AlpineQuest, it was made for hikers, basically, people needing offline navigation. But now it's used by militaries all over. The report even mentions the Russian army using it in Ukraine.
Wow.
So right away, you see this interesting mix. Pretty sophisticated tech being used right there on the ground in a very local context.
And here's a detail that really stood out to me. Constable Somnath Nasamrath, he's passed 12th standard, right? And he's using AlpineQuest like a pro. Finding routes, coordinates, no problem. He even says that former Maoists, some with very little formal schooling, get trained up and become really adept with it too. So how do they make tech like that actually work for people who might not have, a strong formal education background?
That's such a good point, because it shows it's not about the tech being complex necessarily. It's about whether it's intuitive, whether it helps people use the skills they already have. The DRG seems to have figured out how to make these advanced tools work for people who possess that invaluable, deep knowledge of the local area. Their formal education level doesn't matter as much as their ability to learn this specific tool combined with their ground truth. It's kind of redefining tech savvy in that specific environment. They're using practical skills and focused training, and, well, the results in these Naxal zones really speak for themselves.
That makes a lot of sense, redefining proficiency. But the DRG, as you said, didn't just spring into existence like this. Their origin story is, well, it's complicated. It comes from the aftermath of the special police officers, the SPOs.
Yes, and that context is vital. The SPOs were essentially armed local tribal youth, part of the Salwa Juda movement, which was government-backed and aimed at fighting the Maoists. But that initiative became deeply controversial. There were serious complaints about human rights violations, things like houses being torched. Ultimately, the Supreme Court stepped in 2011 and declared the SPOs unconstitutional. It's a tough reminder of the ethical tightrope you walk in these conflict situations.
A really significant setback. But then, things changed quite fast. Just 45 days after that Supreme Court ruling, August 19, 2011, Chhattisgarh brought in an ordinance to recruit assistant constables. And the key criteria were different this time.
Exactly. The focus shifted heavily towards hyperlocal knowledge. You had to be a local resident. You had to know the terrain intimately. You had to know the local dialects.
They really wanted people who knew that ground inside out.
Precisely. And this local knowledge was then combined with proper formal training, 6 months of it. Covered firearms, SLRs, INSAs, LMGs, but also map reading, fieldcraft, building a foundation. Though, interestingly, the name DRG didn't become official until May 2015. Before that, they were known informally as crack teams, or E30.
And wasn't there a specific event that really pushed for this formalization, something quite devastating?
Yes, the 2013 Darba attack. It was a massive ambush where Maoists killed almost the entire state Congress leadership. That horrific event really drove home the point that a new approach, something deeply localized, was absolutely necessary. It wasn't just an option anymore.
So the government realized they needed this local expertise front and center.
Exactly. A police officer quoted in the source explains how these young recruits, with their unparalleled knowledge of the place and the language, became indispensable. They could guide the other forces, the CAPFs, and crucially, they could verify intelligence like nobody else could. That really laid the groundwork for the DRG we see today. It proved that local insight, when properly harnessed, is a massive operational advantage.
Okay, so let's unpack that edge. What really makes the DRG stand out? It seems to boil down to that local factor.
It really does. DGP Arun Dev Gautam calls them the government's most accurate eyes and ears. Why? Because they're mostly deployed right in their home districts.
They know the jungles, the languages, the customs.
And they have this unmatched endurance, as the report puts it. This sets them apart from the Central Armed Police Forces, the CAPFs, who are often brought in from outside. Many DRG members actually come from villages that were once Maoist hubs. Think about the kind of insider knowledge, the potential trust networks that brings.
That's incredible insight.
It's more than just an advantage. It's like a strategic shift. They're using local capital trust, language, geography in a way that makes their approach fundamentally different and potentially more sustainable, too.
Fundamentally different. I like that framing. And IG Sundaraj Padalingam calls them the premium strike force for Boster. It's not just talk, is it? They've had real successes.
Oh, definitely. They've hit Maoist groups deep in areas that used to be considered no-go zones, places like Abu Jamar, the Indravati National Park, and the big one recently being instrumental in taking down Nambala Keshava Rao, also known as Basavaraju. He was the CPI Maoist General Secretary.
Hitting targets like that, deep in those zones, what does that really signify?
It signifies a major shift in the operational dynamics. These were supposed to be safe havens for the Maoist leadership. The DRG getting in there, conducting successful operations like the one against Basavaraju, shows their intelligence is better, their ability to move through that terrain is superior. It means they can dismantle leadership and disrupt networks in a way that wasn't really possible before. It seriously undermines the Maoists' ability to operate freely.
And another striking aspect is the diversity within the DRG. It's not just men.
Absolutely. Women are a significant part of the force. They even have these inspiring nicknames: Bastar fighters in Narayanpur, Danteshwari fighters in Dantewada, Durga fighters in Sukma.
That's fantastic.
And their stories are powerful. Take Kumari Damini Uki, she's 25, from Narayanpur. The report mentions she has 15 encounters under her belt, including the Basavaraju operation. She says, and this is a direct quote, "I feel proud to hold the rifle in my hand. I know that we are rewriting the history of this region."
Wow, that really hits home. And this inclusion isn't just symbolic, right? It has a tangible impact.
Very tangible. Women make up nearly 15% of the DRG in Bastar now. New recruitment rules from 2021 helped, reserving 15% of spots for women. Senior officers point out that bringing women into the force has drastically cut down complaints of harassment from tribal women against security personnel, and importantly, it hasn't hurt their operational effectiveness one bit.
So diversity is actually a strategic plus, operationally and for community relations.
It absolutely is. When the force looks more like the community it serves, it just builds more trust, improves the intelligence flow, makes everything work better.
And the integration goes even further, doesn't it? They also bring in former Maoists who've surrendered.
Yes, that's another really interesting layer. People like Raju Kara, 28 years old, educated only up to class 5. He left the Maoists in 2020 and joined the DRG.
What motivates someone like him to switch sides, and what does the force gain?
Well, Carr explained his family was initially forced to send kids to the Maoists. But things are changing on the ground. He said, "My village has roads, electricity, and an Anganwadi. Basic government facilities are reaching places they didn't before. That change makes surrender more appealing." For the DRG, bringing former cadres in carefully gives them unparalleled insight into Maoist tactics, networks, hideouts. It weakens the insurgency while strengthening their own intelligence.
But it's a careful process, you mentioned, not automatic.
Right. It's case by case. They first serve as Dopnya Sainik's secret soldiers, basically. It tests their loyalty, their knowledge. They get paid for this. It allows the DRG to tap into that invaluable inside knowledge where Maoists might be, how they operate, but in a controlled way. Former Maoists make up less than 20% of the force, so it's managed integration.
That sounds incredibly nuanced. A really pragmatic approach to leveraging enemy knowledge while keeping security tight.
It speaks volumes about their adaptive leadership, turning a former threat into an intelligence asset.
So you have this unique mix of people, local knowledge, tech. How do they keep sharp? How do they maintain that edge?
Relentless training seems to be the key. The report describes a really rigorous daily routine, no rest days. If they're not out on an operation, they're training. Warm-ups, strength work, mock drills, practicing things like cordon and search, taking quick positions, counterattacks, constant practice.
Always honing their skills.
Yeah, and Commander Uma Shankar Shukla mentions daily debriefs, brainstorming sessions. They critique past operations, figure out what went wrong, what went right. The idea is, as he puts it, daily drills make them perfect when the actual operation takes place.
And it's not just basic training.
No, they go beyond. Recruits get sent to the Counterterrorism and Jungle Warfare College in Kanker. They get additional training from the Greyhounds Commandos in Andhra Pradesh, who are renowned jungle fighters. Some even got flown to Mizoram just to experience something outside Bastar, broaden their horizons, boost morale. Little things like that can make a difference too.
That's comprehensive. Now, you mentioned tech earlier. There was a specific strategic shift around 2023.
Yes, a move away from relying only on human intelligence, or HUMINT. They started integrating technical intelligence, tech, much more systematically. This allows them to cross-verify information from different sources, human sources, tech sources, leading to much more precise, targeted operations.
How does that tech integration play out tactically?
It feeds directly into their main tactic now, which they call Cordon Search and Attack, or CSA. The idea is to encircle targets with large cordons, often involving multiple forces, DRG, STF, CRPF, across different districts sometimes, to seal off escape routes. And the planning is highly technical. Every team member gets KML coordinates, latitude, longitude, altitude sent to their phones.
On that AlpineQuest app.
Exactly, encrypted. One click and the app guides them to the precise spot. And this includes the former Maoists too. They're trained up on this tech. It allows for incredibly coordinated movement.
And the impact of all this, the results.
The results are stark, really dramatic. The number of Maoists killed in encounters just since the start of 2024, 186, including Basavaraju.
Right.
That number is higher than the total killed in the entire 4 years from 2020 to 2023 combined, which was 141.
That is a massive jump, truly turning a corner.
It really seems like it. And this success, with the DRG really driving it, isn't just a fluke. It's the payoff from over a decade of these strategic shifts, the intense training, the focus on local knowledge, the tech integration. It's a powerful demonstration of how a persistent, adaptive, locally grounded strategy, boosted by the right technology, can make a huge difference, even in a conflict as entrenched as this one.
It really is a compelling story.
Yeah.
A locally rooted, tech-savvy, adaptable force making a real impact.
So wrapping up this deep dive, what we've really seen is the DRG's evolution. Born from Chhattisgarh's specific challenges, they've become this elite unit. They skillfully blend the high-tech capability with deep, intimate local knowledge. They integrate women, even former adversaries. It's quite a remarkable model for fighting LWE.
And for you, our listeners, especially those preparing for the UPSC exams, think about the takeaways here. This touches on internal security, obviously, but also governance in conflict zones, community engagement, how state security forces can evolve pragmatically. It really underscores why localized solutions and flexible strategies are so vital in complex situations. That's gold for your mains prep, but also just for understanding India's internal dynamics better.
Definitely. And it leaves us with a broader question, doesn't it? This unique DRG mix deep local roots, smart tech, community integration. What does that suggest about the future of security operations? Not just in India, maybe globally. Could this kind of context-specific approach be applied to other tough societal problems, even beyond conflict? Something to think about.
A great point to ponder. If this deep dive got you thinking or helped connect some dots for you, please do give us a like, subscribe to the deep dive for more analysis like this, and leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts or if you have more questions. Your feedback really helps us shape these deep dives for you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning.